Well, yes, security again. And we have fresh guests this morning. Two very honorable gentlemen. Honorable Yunusa Ahmad Abubakar is a member of the All Progressives Congress and also a member of the House Committee on Loans, Aid and Debts Management. You're welcome to Sunrise Elite this morning. Defense Management. Okay.
No, defense. I'm also a member of Defense
Committee.
Defense
Committee, okay. We have also Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf, better known as Honorable TJ Yusuf, who's a member of the PDP and also former Chairman House Committee on Capital Markets. Gentlemen, welcome to Sunrise Elite this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, I'm sure that you have had sufficient opportunity to deliberate on the matter at hand, to think about it, to, try to diagnose what could be wrong, maybe especially on the angle of security and what can be done about it. I'm just wondering, this is even as we hear even more stories breaking on a daily basis as to what more is going wrong. Yesterday we had the kidnap of some students in Plateau State. What can be done about it? We also heard the People's Democratic Party, it will seem, take the stance of the House of Representatives, asking the President to declare a state of emergency on that. There have been differing opinions. We also saw a governor of Katsina State, one of the states that have been affected by banditry in the Northwest, saying that will not be the solution. As you see all of this, what is currently going through your mind as to how we can make progress? Let me start with you, sir.
Viewers, good morning. It's really pathetic, the situation that we allowed ourselves to reach. Just over last weekend, we were in a function, and I think we encapsulated the situation that Nigeria is at war with itself. Because the war is more or less taking place within ourselves. Now, so many resolutions have been done as far as the House is concerned. We have thrown our weight to ways of giving a lot of solutions as to the way out. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, much has not been done. The situation now that we are is really precarious, that unanimously, I think, majority of us in the National Assembly, both chambers, have agreed that we need a helping hand. These mercenaries has to be hired to really fight the war, to trim it down. Reasons are not far-fetched. We see that the armed forces, be it the military, the police, along the rank, has been compromised. They have been it has been politicized. A lot of people are members of the armed forces, have really taken side, and they are not helping matters. So the best situation is we hire machineries so that they can, apart from declaration of the state of emergency, we need helping hand machineries that will come and push these people too far. And then we have to enhance our tripartite kind of approach with our neighboring countries.
It is interesting that you say that we need to hire mercenaries. Listening to the president of the NLC right there, the event they held yesterday, they, broached the issue, and he thinks that no, our military are capable of handling this. You have made reference to the fact that, the military might not be as united as we would like to think. And perhaps, they have taken sides within the rank and file, perhaps. Because I'm sure that if we pose this question to the spokesperson of the military, or even, say, the chief of army staff or the chief of defense staff, as the case might be, the chances are very high that they will deny very strongly just what you have said. And then there will also be the question of, if we do get mercenaries, under whose command will they serve? Won't it be under the same military which we say are divided?
I will answer that very sharply. Was it not the immediate past chief of army staff that said we need not less than 20 years to prosecute this war. Are we ready to wait for 20 more years? So this is the higher echelon officer of the chief of army staff, outgoing one, Buratai, that people have adjudged that he has done something very, very, he has done something that he deserves a clap. And he is telling you that for us to end this war, it has to be prosecuted for not less than 20 years. It is the kind of people that we will now entrust and allow them to continue prosecuting the war.
Did we ask him why he said so?
Well, we didn't ask him, but he is now trying to tell us that they are not ready to do it within the shortest possible time.
Maybe that's the shortest possible time. I mean, there'll be huge questions as to whether or not we understand the true nature of this war. I'll give you an instance. I mean, I dare say that we all watched when Boko Haram started. It seemed like a joke then. Mohammed Yusuf preaching, and then he was caught, and then, you know, the people were very happy. And then they were attacked, some police officers much later. We saw the bombing of Louis Edet's house here in Abuja. And we thought, okay, no, this is not Nigerian. This is something that was just out of the blues. We saw the bombing of the UN headquarters here in Abuja as well. After a while, they were able to calm some of those things. But at that initial stage, we were told that this was the beginning of something that was going to be here to stay and long drawn. That terrorism is not something that comes to hit you and then it leaves you. So if he's saying that we have to prosecute this for the next 20 years, grim as it might sound, do we understand why he will make such a statement?
You see, let us take the antecedent of what has been happening and what is also tenable from our neighboring, just immediate country, Chad. You look at Nigeria, I will say first, all those initial set of the burning hearts you mentioned, they are quite right, but we took them with some degree of levity. We were not serious to prosecute. A lot of politics have entered there. There are enemies within. I think the last appearance I hear, I just, by mere mention of security, you were not there, but I was alone here and they were bombarding me from Lagos. I did mention that we have some Judas, even in the government prosecuting within the war. Last week, we had the Zamfara government got some armed forces, either the police or the military, compromising, giving information to this bandit. It was on papers. And they are now about to be prosecuted. So it has been happening. We have been hearing this news even in Maiduguri. It is the same soldiers that are now using the war to rather enrich themselves rather than protecting the Nigerian integrity. So some people are doing it just to amass wealth for their own selfish reason. Some are doing it for a political reason. Maybe they are serving their masters. And even you cannot rule out a foreign collaboration. Maybe we have been pointing fingers. I can come out blank and say to France, thinking the control of the Anglophone, like Nigeria being an English-speaking country surrounded by the Francophone and the control of territory of our oil in Chad, and so on and so forth. So you can't rule out this foreign interest. Now let me tell you, when Chad were very serious, before the late Idris Deby, he led a war and then took this Boko Haram or whatever to a certain point. And then just last week or so, his son that took over the commander-in-chief also led a war about 2 days ago, and he nailed these people. If a Chadian government can do, which I believe they have an obsolete equipment, why Nigerian government cannot do? But because of the internal crisis, we don't even trust ourselves. Some are there to make money, some are there to promote a political reason, some, I don't know. So that is why we feel we can no longer trust the Nigerian army.
This is really problematic. Yes. Honorable TJ, I do not know if you are also, you know, well, we'll fix that. Well, I do not know if you can, I mean, if you agree with Honorable Yunusa here about his own prognosis of the issue, but even if you do, that will be just for one aspect of this internal crisis that we're having. That's that of terrorism and Boko Haram and what have you. What about the question of bandits? some people say, the word bandits is too mild, but that's what we have categorized them as. What about the bandits? What about the internal crisis? Farmers, herdsmen, so to speak, herdsmen in quote, that is another kettle of fish. What about the internal wrangling that has come up as a result of this crisis brought about by farmer herdsmen? Because as a result of that, we have begun to see secessionist cries. Hiring mercenaries will certainly not solve that problem, will it?
Yeah. One of the things we fail to realize as people is that you can know the beginning of a crisis. You don't know the ripple effect of such crisis. So when there is insensitivity, inefficiency, or what have you in one sector, you cannot analyze where it will, structures that will be dislocated by that. So we fail ab initio when the Boko Haram thing started. Unfortunately, I will hit hard more on this present government. There is a lot of hope. I'm a military man, I will lead from the front. A lot of rhetorics about how to be done. A lot of Nigerians believed in him. The National Assembly bent backward to overlook certain excesses that should have been, impeachable offense. I won't forget that we had, at the point, you just took $1 billion without appropriation, without recourse, and say because he wanted to fight insurgents. Took from federation account before even sharing. So he took from state, local government, and everybody. Well, kept quiet. He came to the floor. You see, lesser evil is allowed for general good. If he's committing this offense and it's for the good of the nation, let's allow it. But I tell people that you must understand one thing. People are not only listening to you, they are watching you. If there is a correlation between what you say and what you do, it will send the right signal. The leadership failed in this aspect. Before the 2015 election, there was urgency in combating this urgency. About late 2014 to early 2015, we had our military working with the mercenaries, took the war to the Boko Haram insurgents. The president government came in, rather than sustaining. We quashed the system that was on ground. We sent packing all the men who have been on ground for like 2 years, because it builds up. You don't start today and begin to know how to liquidate these structures. They had worked for some time before getting to that level to send them back in. That is where I said the presidency or the president failed to put into play, to put into action his long year of experience as a military man. He allowed partisanship so as to be seen as not, okay, no, we can't continue what they are doing. So within that period...
If I remember clearly, though, the service chiefs were not fired immediately. The service chiefs were given some time, very much the same way the president took his time to appoint ministers in that it took almost 6 months. So the service chiefs still had, they were given a few more months to work before he eventually appointed his own service chiefs. But then he had ordered that they all move, relocate to...
Did they relocate?
To the northeast, to Borno.
Did they relocate? It's one thing to give an instruction and to be seen. It's another thing for it to be carried out. Have you forgotten that there's an IG that was asked to move to Benue? And after like a month or two was when the president got to know that he didn't move.
No, that was much later.
I'm trying to make it even at that time.
If I remember clearly, the military chiefs moved at that time. Yes, then we were inundated. I've been in this business for a long time. We were inundated with visuals of the chief of army staff with the troops in front at the war front, doing exercises with them, doing drills with them, visiting different formations.
I love the last word you used. He visited. He didn't relocate.
Well,
he visited, and those people were captured to be seen as being moved, that they has moved there. But let's even not
flog that.
Because you don't even need to move there for the war to be efficiently executed. You don't need to move there. What I'm trying to say is that at the initial stage, the leadership failed to give the right signal There's one thing I want you to understand, that human beings naturally will respond to the tendency they observe in their leader. If they observe that, oh, you are serious about this, those who are cutting corners and compromise the structure, we hold on and begin to watch. The day you punish somebody that is suspected or seen to have compromised the command structure, others will sit tight. But when they observe that those guys are becoming the darling of the system and what have you, that's why we lost the zeal, the urgency that will have prosecuted this war. Then they suggest these men get information too. They come to realize, oh, we can advance more, we can do this. Then it now snowball into what the herdsman farmer crisis. The president failed at the initial stage when this thing came on board. I was telling somebody a few days ago, I was welfare secretary of the student union when I was in university. The procedure is that if you are given accommodation, if you don't clear your room in 2 weeks, you lose the privilege of that accommodation because they are not enough. I made it 3 weeks. My elder brother, the same father, the same mother, qualified for accommodation, a final year student. He didn't clear in 3 weeks. I revoked his room first. He said signal to everybody that nobody is above the law. But when you begin to patch people, they watch you. They watch the fact that the law did not take its course on so and so. Then you now begin to rejig the thing. No, it is not banditry. It is not headsmen. It is farmers. We invested a lot of time redefining what should be called. Rather than hitting and sending a signal to that we will not tolerate any criminality in our nation. So other sides of the country now began to say, oh, so you can do this and go. That's why you will find us. Initially, this was just restricted to an area. But today now, there's no part of this country that is not involved. So
indeed, solutions. What solutions?
Simple.
Because I mean, he proffered mercenaries as a solution to the crisis in the Northeast. What other solutions are we looking at? There are those who are saying...
The first solution is that for the president himself to sit up, take responsibility. Don't just say it, act. Voted money for so and so, where are the equipments? Are the troops adequately catered for? How can the Chadian armies be better kitted than the Nigerian army? What is happening? What's happening to the morale? I said somewhere that the president contributed to the low morale by keeping your service chiefs cost 25, cost 26, cost 28, when cost 33 they are going on retirement. So why will I be, exceptionally committed to this war when I know that it is not about moving at the right time, my provision comes. Some people are just left there. When it is even openly known to everybody that they have not done anything significant to come this step. So we need to build that confidence. We need to identify those who are Boko Haram among our military echelon and begin to weed them out. Because stories everywhere that we have intelligence report, we are advancing so way. One officer will say, don't go. When they are counter instruction, and the insurgency of recent, about 2-3 days ago, they were mocking Nigerian military. They captured some of our recent acquired armament and were mocking us. They got information from us. So we must first of all deal with that. Then what he said about insurgency is the fact that we have lost confidence in the ability of our men to work as a team, as a unit. Because you cannot do much if you are, Mr. A believe in the cause of Boko Haram. So he's within the military. And he believes in that cause. Why would you compromise the system? So that's why we are figuring out machinery, that the machinery will not be subject to the internal divisions amongst us. They don't know you. They don't want to know where you come from. They are businessmen who carry out war as their own business. They are paid, they execute it, and leave. We are not saying they should remain. We are not saying they should do it without our military. We are saying that for where we are now, to have some measure of reclaiming some sense of Nigeria, so that we do not allow this disarray to sink into the conscience of everybody, and everybody that feel that, hey, it's a fit for all thing. I tell people who don't understand this thing, God forbid, war in Nigeria, they won't be West Africa. We overrun Ghana. We overrun Chad. And for those of us who are in political office who assume that we are isolated, there won't be airport to travel. Every airport will be a military base.
The vice president said as much excuse me, just 2 days ago, when he also painted the fact that, God forbid that we ever see such a situation, but that there'll be nowhere else to run. There'll be nowhere to run. Those who think that they have accumulated money, he said, you will soon run out of the money. So we all have a duty, to ensure that, such a thing doesn't happen. But, listening to Mr. Tajuddin Yusuf, he is saying that it's all at the president's table. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, partially. The president takes the bulk. He is the commander-in-chief. But then we have to look that Mr. President has to work with some lieutenants. He has some subordinates. So in the whole issue, the president inclusive and down to the lowest ladder, we need patriotism. Patriotism is the key word. If the country is worth living, then it was dying for. That is number one. Again, when you are talking about the whole problems now, be it Boko Haram, that is, you call it terrorists, it is terrorists, then cattle rustlers, the banditries, farmer herders, the communal IPOP, whatever, they are now interwoven. Why do I say so? I have 2-3 principal witnesses that were kidnapped here in Abuja, kidnapped by some people from that you can term the IPOB group. They took them to these banditries, cattle restaurants, and onward to Boko Haram. And the Boko Haram settled those people. And then the Boko Haram negotiated for the ransom. So
they are all related now.
That is the issue. That is why the issue becomes more complex. I have 3 people that were kidnapped and they went through this scenario. The astonishing part of it, the security agencies, they know all these their camps, be it banditry camp, be it Boko Haram. Because look, night comes out, we have satellite. We have all this. A common secondary school student now can do drone to track something. Do you think our intelligentsia doesn't have that record? They do.
So what exactly is the problem?
That is the issue. Patriotism. A lot of people are trying to make money because this phantom says people in the presidency are making money, ministers are making money, members of the National Assembly are making money, so I too will make my own. And you see this, let's say the Boko Haram, to some extent they are educated religiously with their own definition of religion. But come to this bandit that are hooligans, people that take wheat, take rope, uneducated as far as Western civilization is concerned. These Fulani people that they are going, or whatever you call them, they were the one that, for when you say Fulani, Fulani, they are the uncivilized people that they can kill and maim like nothing. So these are the people, and they have now been integrated. All this and that is taking place. And another thing, some of this government, they don't even study their advisors. The people in the government connived and pay ransom. And if the ransom is taken, only about less than 30% of the ransom reaches the bandit. Yeah. The scenario in Katsina is there. The scenario in Zamfara is there. It is the civil servant, the so-called civil servant, the chairman of local government, the district head, they are the one now distributing the booty. So the issue is so complex. That's why I will now turn it back to be patriotic. And because of this laxity, yet it is now in the northeast, it doesn't affect us in the southwest. Now it has come some 48 kilometers to Abuja. And people are being kidnapped right inside Abuja. Asokoro, Maitama, we are no longer safe. So it will now reach. And it's because of this patrol, because of few dollars or few naira you compromise. Just last week, the news were going around that the Boko Haram were in Yobe recruiting people with 20,000. So the issue is Nigeria we have to pick up. Okay, some people from 18 trouble.
I'm going to flip this to Lagos now for questions from my colleagues.
Well, let me ask you, Honorable Yunusa, when you say that the country can no longer trust the army is divided. And these are some of the things that General T.Y. Danjuma had said several months ago. And it does appear as though nobody is paying him any attention. But today we've seen a lot more calls and agitation concerning possible solutions. There's a school of thought that believes that restructuring, as it were, could be steps that we need to put in place to begin to address the problem. But at the same time, they think that the Northern Bloc in the National Assembly are blocking that move. So what do you say to that? Will that be a solution if it were to be kick-started? And then to the narrative as to whether or not the Northern Bloc is blocking that move, would you then say that that bloc is patriotic towards this call?
Well, Chamberlain, you have asked a question, but you've done just little background analysis. Let me first go back to what I've said earlier. We saw some video clips. I didn't watch the program, but Christiana Amompro of CNN was interviewing our president and asking about the $1 billion that we gave. Mr. President was shown in the clip saying that, ask the service chiefs. They just brought it and divided it on the table as if they are dividing cake or taking tea. This video went viral. So even the presidency are of the opinion that the money that was given to execute the war was not used properly. And it's the same armed forces. That is, by the way, Chamberlain. I again say, if the viewers can be critically, a lot of these people were compromised. The armed forces have been compromised to have been aligning, giving some synergizing with the bandit, the terrorists, and everything for some peanut. This aside, the issue of structuring, I also appear here, and you know, all those people agitating for restructuring the country, taking us back to the 60s when we have 6 or so regions, the dynamics, the parameters are no longer the same. Just like now, let me give you an example, even in the north. Recently, the present governor balkanized Kano into 5 emirates, one powerful emirate into 5 emirates with historical background. Should there be a governor now to do another referendum or to do a reverse to go back to a single Kano emirate? I'm telling you, a lot of people will resist it with their blood. Because a Rano man will never go back to be subservient to a single Kano, neither a Bichi, neither that. So it's the same thing. We have about 6 states now in the region. You take the southwest, who will now become subservient to Lagos or to Ikiti or to Oyo State or to Ondo State? They can never do that. The restructuring that we are talking should be to restructure us to become patriotic. So that said that if Chamberlain is found to be good, it's the families of Chamberlain, his elder brother, his junior brother, can be president in succession and they can make Nigeria good, so be it. Until we have this kind of thing inculcated in us, I don't think the structure that we are talking, just to restructure, go back to southern region, go back to eastern region, mid region, you are still going to create another majority from there, and there could be minorities, and there could be still communal clashes. Let me give you, just about 3 weeks ago.
Pardon me, if I could just jump in. You know, now that is a school of thought that there are several perspectives to it all. Because one, if they say they don't want any such conversation about restructuring, you would then need to ask, what solutions are they putting on the table? In addition to that, we've had several national conferences in this country. So why is it that we can't even pick up those documents and see what is it that Nigerians have said for those who attended those conferences? It may be the immediate, the one that ended before the government came in, or the one before that one. Nobody's looking at those documents at all. Does it then suggest that we're Are we even interested in solving these challenges we're facing?
Yes, we are. And those documents that you talked, let me now authoritatively let it out to you and to our viewers and to the Nigerian Federation as a nation that all those conflicts are being perused by the Committee of the Constitutional Amendment. Even the present last restructure of the APC government, the document is going to come through our rules that is going to be taken in this present constitutional amendment. And there are a lot of bills pending to amend the constitution vis-a-vis incorporating some of this conflict because the National Assembly is there. So the issue of nobody visiting them is not there. We are visiting them. At least from the 9th Assembly and the people like us, TJ, that came from previous assemblies, we will see that all these things are now coming. Nigeria is not like yesterday. We are getting wiser by the day. So all this will be brought, and we are really democratically going to handle that one. That aside, the issue I was trying to also let is that we people are not contributing. Let me take the issue in the southeast, south-south, the issue of Nnamdi Kanu. When he was apprehended by the government, that's where the populace now come in. Some people, highly placed senators, serving in the government, they went and bailed him. And they aided his escape and to provide another platform to be operated. It is now that it is down on them when they start killing innocent people, attacking police station, that the people realize that these people are now in danger. They have now joined about 3 groups. The IPOP is there, is this ESN or something like that? So the issue is we cannot look at it as if this is Musa, is a Muslim, I must protect him, he's a criminal. A criminal should be exposed as a criminal and should be dealt with. That is what my colleague TJ here is talking, that we have to really exercise punishment. Under this government, I'm an APC, yes, a lot of people were exposed, even if it is a mere allegation. They were not asked, very few of them were asked to relinquish office and an investigation is taking place. And where they were found guilty, they are not being punished. So the issue we are trying to say here, be it in the armed forces, anywhere, if somebody is found guilty, let him be shown the way out. Not because I am an officer in an army or in the Air Force, and then my subordinate so that I'm accumulating money and he's about to expose me, then I will do all it could to get that person out of the order. If there is a panel of inquiry under security, we can come and give evidences. I have all these evidences. I know a lot of video junior accountants that when they want to expose their bosses in this section, that they were showing the way out.
You know, so that right there, those are some of the matters. Those who say that there is injustice in the land, they feel alienated. They don't have a sense of belonging. Because when you even say the military is divided, several people have always said they suspect that they collude with them. So how do you convince people who genuinely want to help or offer themselves or come up with real, at least, altruistic solutions that it's not a script we're seeing playing out? Many believe that what we see today is a clear script being played out, diverting attention while aiding terrorists to gain ground on us.
The legislature of government should sit up, and then the judiciary should throw its weight behind the legislative. If you feel the executive have been compromised, then we have to sit on them and do our oversighting activity very well to make sure that a single dime appropriated has been digged out.
I'm sorry, I need to just clarify.
And
does
then
that mean
the National Assembly, just like...
Are you suggesting the National Assembly sit up in what way? Calling the president to order or what? How?
Well, if you say president, you are just talking of a figurehead. The presidency and its with all I think associated, coming to the ministries, to the head of MDS, anybody that is found wanting, the legislator has been constitutionally empowered to do oversight, expose him, and then the necessary measures should be made on him by the executive.
Okay. Honorable, let me take this to Honorable Yusuf now. I mean, a lot of things have been said. You referenced the other time the morale of the people who are on the front line. There are so many issues to raise with you, gentlemen, but let me begin with this one, Honorable Yusuf. Now, how do we begin to redress that fact of the morale of the men? On the one hand, we have heard said severally that there's been an infiltration of the military because some of them have been compromised. On the other hand, we know, you also said it the other time, that there are those who are fighting tooth and nail, who are fighting with all of their heart and their blood, sincerely, to make sure that Nigeria is not overrun by all of this insecurity that we are talking about. So hearing that some of them are compromised might send some signals to them that, look, how do I even know that the person fighting next to me is not the person that's been compromised? Now, how do we begin to redress that? Because unless we do, there's jeopardy in the air, don't you think?
I agree with you. It's scary. It's very, very scary that you cannot trust the next person beside you. However, how do we go forward? First of all, there must be leadership. The president must show leadership. The moment he shows leadership, those who are genuinely and sincerely doing the right thing will have a sense of safety and security. Those who are on the other side will realize that, hey, if I'm caught, it will not be a good thing to me. That's enough to scale that. That does not mean to end such tendency, but to scale it down. It won't be brazen. It won't be that those who do such misbehavior now become the lords of the field. I want to go back to a bit on the issue of restructuring. I want to disagree that restructuring does not mean we'll go about to regional. It's devolution of power. There's this belief that power over concentration in the center has made a lot of things not to work effectively. And I have taken time to look at other nations that have similar tendency like Nigeria. Canada, for example. Canada has oil, a multi-ethnic, and what have you. They practice a federal system that does not gather in Abuja to share money monthly. I've not found any other federation in the world where you meet every month to share money. It's structured in a manner that the other tiers of government have some measure of autonomy and responsibility so that they can tackle some of these issues. Some of this insurgency, why it is this way is that some governors, governors on paper are chief security officer of the state. But in real time, they are not chief security officer of the state. They have to listen to Abuja. Abuja give instruction to the commissioner of police and what have you. They do security meetings, but order does not come from them. So how do we, with this kind of system, begin to micromanage the little tendencies within our environment? How will somebody from Borno adequately police Kaba? What does he know about Kaba? It is what those who are on ground they tell him. And if he's fed with the wrong information, he will out of the wrong information and will get the wrong result.
Well, Honorable.
However, coming back to the military is a reflection of the larger society. They are not from the moon. They are brothers and sisters. So those tendencies, how we hit more on the political class? That the consequence of what you see in the military is a reflection of the political class compromise and trivializing security issue. And when they observe, because the military naturally is trained to be regimented, to obey orders, but when they see loopholes and realize that the rules are not being followed, they cap on it. So first of all,
Honorable Yusuf, on that one, I mean, a number of people would want to take you up on that and ask. You are a member of the political class, and everyone that we have invited and asked them about, you know, the allegations, so to speak, that some elements in the political class are fueling some of the insecurity that we found ourselves in. Now, the question then is, at what point is the political class going to sit down and say there is a larger stake than our personal interests? So if the politicians, as you are also alleging now, are responsible for this, how then do people know what to do if the political class is at the forefront of this insecurity? It means we are helpless, don't you think?
One of the most dangerous crisis a nation can face is a religious crisis. When you have to do with faith, it takes more than ordinary to know who is with you and who is not with you. Issue of faith go beyond a border issue or what have you. It has to do with people's belief. So the fact that the Boko Haram insurgency has its foundation issue of faith require a more systemic strategy that is not ordinary. The political class, in the desire to win the election, play into the hand of this group. What we need, and that's why I keep hitting on the president, we need a bridge builder. We need a leader, the leader, not a leader, the leader, who will see every sector, every group in this country as mine and take ownership. Until that is done, we will not get out of this. And sincerely, I feel the president, unfortunately, has been made to believe, because of excessive politics, that he's untouchable, that he cannot be questioned. He sees himself above the institutions of government that are put in place to checkmate him. Because as parliament, we have failed in several areas to call him to order. So it has not become impossible for him to see the other side. I tell people, I was on the floor many days ago, I said, when you serve impeachment process, that doesn't mean that you ordinarily impeach the president. But the president realized that, hey, there is a structure to checkmate me. If you remember, those who read history, the Oyo Mercy were checkmating their laughing. If their laughing go out of there, their laughing will be threatened, they will be hard to go on ice. I mean, what do you call it? Exercise their laughing. They say, what they use? You send him out of the kingdom to live elsewhere. Because of that, the moment the Oyo Mercy, there's a process, there are about 3 stages. The moment they began that process, he sits tight. He realized that, hey, the end might be coming, and I don't want to leave this place in disgrace. Because once he lives in disgrace, it might be difficult for his children to have the privilege of inheriting that seat. The president must be made to understand that, hey, we employ you. We pay your salary. And that as such that we can call you to order. That's why I tell my colleagues on both sides that, hey, until we come to terms with one reality, that if we play excessive politics with the issue of security, there won't be any Nigeria. Well, where there's a Nigeria, that's why you're House of Reps.
Honorable Yusuf, on that same matter, well, just one moment. You have said something that is very, very critical, and I think the whole of the National Assembly ought to come to terms with that reality and live by it. The Constitution, I believe, is deliberate in placing the National Assembly, the legislature, ahead of the executive in the order of how the Constitution is. So if the Constitution, if the National Assembly is not playing its role in that regard, both at the federal level and at the state level, shouldn't we be asking the National Assembly whether or not they are doing their jobs the way they ought to? Just as you have said now, if the National Assembly has failed to hold its ground as the #1 arm of government, then we have a problem, don't you think?
I agree with you. We have a problem. We have done a lot of things good. We have done a lot of things bad. I am saying that in the area of making the president understand that, hey, you have to sit up. We have failed. We have not done enough. We are too interested in the politics part of it. We are too interested in being seen as not being confrontational. And I tell people that loyalty is not to the president. Loyalty should be to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The allegiance and loyalty to the president should be in sync with how loyal is the president to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The moment we cannot separate these two, and we are loyal to an individual, we will miss the point. So that is one of the major challenges we have. When you create, make an individual look like a pure line, and somebody that cannot do wrong, every human being is fallible. And you must subject yourself to that a reasonable check and balances that is put around you, the idea is to help you do well. And I tell people that those of you who think that the president should not be checkmated, you are not doing good, because he will not be judged by what you say. He will not be judged by what you say. He will be judged by what people believe he has done. And posterity will not listen to you and I again. They'll go to the record. That's what posterity will do. The record will speak for itself.
Right,
are we better than before his arrival as president? I said no.
All right.
We had insurgency, yes, but now we have liberalized insecurity in every sector of the country, and we are sitting back and making it look as if it is those who hate the president that are complaining because they don't like him.
We
cross that Rubicon.
We're going somewhere. We're going somewhere with this conversation, and I hope that we'll be able to take some decisions that the National Assembly will be able to play its role significantly. But let me take this to Honorable Abubakar now. Earlier, over the past couple of weeks or thereabout, the National Assembly invited, through another committee, the Chief of Army Staff to explain some things, some spendings. And we understand that, of course, we all know what the Chief of Army Staff said at the time, that, look, you should be querying my predecessor. You have heard Honorable Yusuf say earlier that that $1 billion, it doesn't look like anyone is asking questions. So, could you tell us, you have also made allegations that perhaps some budget, some spendings haven't gone the way they ought to go. What kind of questions is your security committee asking concerning the functions that the Nigerian army ought to be performing?
Well, thank you for that question. It will suffice you to know that just only day before yesterday, Wednesday specifically, when we came out of our executive meeting, it was unanimously agreed that all the security committees of the House should provide record of the effort done so far and what is being to be done and where are the inadequacies. We were given some time to do that before a retreat. And it has been resolved also to invite the National Security Advisor's Office and his panoplia and all other service chiefs to bring us all record and the intelligence gathering that they have gathered. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you know there are some security ways that is being used to execute some security problems. So just for people to know that, I think as from 2 days ago, the House have now reawakened that we will no longer, in fact, the issue is we shall no longer play politics as far as security of the nation. After all, security is the first duty of governments as enshrined in the Constitution. And if we at the National Assembly cannot safeguard, protect, and then, guard that section, then we have failed. So we have now reawakened this week that we have to do our job. So all those concerns that are there, I'm telling you by the special grace of God, God have touched our heart. We have buried politicking. We have to serve the nation. We have been elected. We have taken out of office, and we have to live by our out of office. So all these things are going to be neat. Some information are going to be laid to the public. Some they might not, because they might compromise the execution of the war. So, but I'm telling you, these are some of the resolutions that we have reached, and it shall be done. Because of that, come May 24, for 4 days, the House will go into a retreat to peruse, to really go through all those information that were gathered. Until May 24 May of this 2021, in a couple of weeks, we must have gathered that. So the House now is on its toes. A lot of us, all the money we appropriated to these security agencies, we shall do our oversight function diligently. And then NatComSat, all those our satellite, what are they doing that they cannot use our satellite to fish out this bandit? This is also an issue that we take it. By next week, all those information are going to be collated.
Well, certainly something to end on. A note of hope to end on that. The House, at least, is trying to do its own bit. I do not know if you have also seen any other streak anywhere else that is also giving you hope, Honorable TJ.
I have listened to a lot of our elders, and in fact, 2 days ago, I listened to President Obasanjo. Something struck me that they have something they know that we don't know. He was very bold, that will overcome. So I know that there are still a lot of sincere, patriotic Nigerians somewhere working. And I know because of that, we'll overcome. Or where we are shouting here is because we want those who are saddled with the responsibility of doing the right thing to awake to their responsibility and realize that the idea of toy with it, like my colleague said, that the House has come. When we had the executive session, I never said anything in the executive session because I was shocked with what I heard my colleagues say. The display of patriotism and what have you, it was unparalleled. So I've told myself I didn't know to say anything here because everybody is coming to realize that, hey, if we do not do the right thing this time around, we're all doomed. But Mike.
So indeed, I mean, hope is rising somewhere. We really have to go now. I really wanted that to be closing comments. So we have to thank you both, gentlemen, for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Honorable Yunusa Ahmad Abubakar is a member of the APC, also a member House Committee on Loan, Aid and Debt Budget, and also a member of the House Committee on Defense, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And then we also had with us Honorable Tajuddin Yusuf, who's a member of the PDP, former chairman, House Committee on Capital Market. Gentlemen, thank you once again for coming on Sunrise Daily. Well, we will take a break at this moment and we'll come back with another topic which will definitely interest you and your pockets. So please stay tuned. Comrade Joe Ajero joins us now. We're talking about, well, there were some reports around electricity tariff hike once again. I think some papers reported that a few days ago. What is going on in that particular sector? That's the reason why we're being joined by Comrade Joe Ajero, who's the Deputy President of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Comrade, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much.
What is this we're hearing about, a new electricity tariff hike? Because just in January, there were talks around whether or not electricity tariff had gone up or it hadn't gone up. Then NERC said, oh, it was adjusted. It wasn't increased, even though a lot of people saw increments in what they were paying. But hey, what is going on right now? What's this talk about a new tariff increase?
Well, so long as the system remains the way it is, the tariff increases will continue. It's not whether they denied it or not. Between January and now, you can ask consumers, they have noticed remarkable increases in their tariff. Even when they are not announcing it, they are increasing. And it appears the only business in the power sector now is increasing tariff. It's not matched with probably increase in service.
In service?
Yeah, so that is the most annoying. It doesn't matter whether the NEC agrees that they were increasing or not, but you will see a change, in what you are paying at the end of the month. And it is very sad, really, because the NEC, for a long time now, seem to have just one business of tariff increase. It doesn't concern them how the consumers feel, how they behave, or whether power, is improving. So that's a sad part of it. And I will not deny that we've not had that hint, that they may increase tariff. Yeah, so I think the fear is in order.
I don't know if this came up in your summit yesterday. The NLC had a pretty vibrant summit yesterday. But knowing that, your primary constituency used to be the electricity sector, what exactly are they saying is informing this increment?
Well, when they wanted to privatize, some of us were demonized, all over the place, telling Nigerians that, it's not going to bring improvement in service delivery. It's not going to make power available. It will be all about tariff increase. It will be all about maximization of profit by the new owners. And they're not going to bring anything new, because they came under the premise of bringing in new technology, bringing foreign direct investment, managerial ability on those three premises. And none of them was delivered. So when they conquered the sector, because they privatized by force, you know, I and my people and those that work in the electricity sector, we are surrounded with soldiers, you know, to make sure they take over. And since that takeover, things have not been normal. You know, so it's not going to work, it's not going to work. There have been up to 5 tariff increases after privatization on the same 4,000 megawatts. And the greatest scam in this country is what they call service reflective tariff. You know, where they will tell you that these people are on band A, these people are on band B, you know, and then these people on band A will pay this amount because we are going to give them this number of hours. And when they don't give you that number of hours, what happens? You know, so these are issues that are begging for reconciliation. But Nigerians are a bit docile.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at it, though, this is looking at another angle. While we had NEPA, we were there for a long time, and you know, electricity was, you know, not constant. Some people will say that perhaps it's also in the nature of the sector we're dealing with, that this is a monopoly. We do not have too many suppliers of electricity. It's just one supplier. You cannot say, oh, I'm angry with this supplier, the same way we do with our SIM cards. Oh, this network is not very good, or it might not be good in my area. I'm going to switch to another network. We do not have that luxury when it comes to electricity. Yeah, and then when we also look at the variables around the production of electricity, almost everything has gone up. They will talk about the cost of gas, the fact that the dollar, the inputs that are needed for production of electricity have also gone up. Should we take those variables or those conversations lightly?
Those variables are very faulty, given the Nigerian situation. First, on the issue of monopoly, yes, if it was public monopoly, which one is better between public monopoly and private monopoly? That we could have looked at it. Because we are talking of reform and changes. If we are moving from a monopoly by the state and we move to private monopoly, then it's a very dangerous phenomenon. But it was not entirely monopoly if you look at it from the aspect of maybe if they wanted to deregulate the sector. Because since 1929 or thereabout, those in Jos area, you know, we are not having monopoly because NESCO is a private power company that operated in Jos. And my union unionizes the workers there to date. So they had a choice, NESCO line, NEPA line, and they were running there. And when they started this reform, you know, they first of all licensed so many companies, Farm Electric, all of them, about 25 of them, so that they will equally run in the same vein. So that you have private sector and public sector operating. You have maybe a weak NEPA with low tariff anyway. And then you have maybe maybe whichever company, private, that gives you 24 hours and you are ready to pay for it. Now that is what the market is all about. Market is all about choice. If I don't want this, I'll go for this. That was equally why NITEL was killed. Because if NITEL was operating with the GSM with low tariff but poor service, people will have a choice. Now that's but when they on the issue of the premise they came up on gas, gas is here in Nigeria. Gas is not imported into Nigeria. So if anybody is telling you hydro is here, you know, the other day they were talking about reducing the capacity they want to build in Mambila from 3,000 megawatts to about 1,500 megawatts. Why will you do it? It's entirely hydro, you know, and we are not exporting it. But by the time you get all the turbines already fixed there, you know, every year you now charge us money for dollar. For that same turbine, some of the turbines in this country have stayed for almost 40 years, 50 years, and they're still charging us on the current value of the dollar. So where does that happen? And then when you want to even supply the generating companies in Nigeria, you supply to them at dollar rate to sell to Nigerians at naira rate. So they convert it. So who is fooling who? What is happening? I think we should come out openly and explain to Nigerians the so-called market we're operating.
Yeah, but the companies that mine the gas, they usually have to, it's a big risk for them. It's not the Nigerian government that
Sorry,
that
all
gets the
other
gas.
operators, manufacturers association, this and that, they are getting gas at $1.50. And in the power sector, you are giving them $2.50. It's not done anywhere. So if you can give other producers in the country at that rate, what is happening in the power sector? Besides, those producers are dependent on power for them to do business. So nobody has come up to tell Nigerians exactly what is happening in the power
Have
sector.
we been able to successfully question that?
We have questioned it in the committee they set up, and we met last early this year. Since that time, no meeting convened. We stated clearly that this rate you are giving to other producers in the country, do same in the power sector. If you do that, even the current tariff will come down. However, even when they do that, they will not bring the tariff because power is equally generated by hydro. But the cost now is on gas. Nobody is telling you that, oh, because you have this percentage generated by hydro, let us charge tariff based on this. They now mix everything together and charge it as if every power generated in this country is through gas. And Nigeria has not really looked at other sources of power. Besides, what they are doing is what I call political power stations. We set up power stations where the source of generation is not there. And if we continue this way, that's the problem we are going to have. We talk of gas. The other day they were trying to commission a wind turbine in Katsina. There are other sources. The coals are there. The coal is there. From Benue to Kogi to Enugu. Why are we not generating through coal? 40% of power generated all over the world is through coal. So what is happening? Why all this gas? If gas is not favoring us, we'll look at other options.
We're also signatory to the climate change agreement, and coal is not perceived to be one of the cleanest sources of power.
There is clean coal. Go to South Africa, that is what is happening there.
Well, I'm just, I don't know why we're not using coal. I'm just thinking that could be one of the reasons, yeah.
But they're thinking of having other sources that are not as clean as even coal. So I don't think that is the problem. It's not. There is clean coal. And Nigerian coal is not. After the process, when you process it, you see that there is no environmental pollution. Go for ask ESCOM, South Africa, what they're doing with the coal.
Well, has this come up, this talk around the electricity tariff hike? Do you know what is informing it this time around?
No, when we met last, we said no to it. And about 2 weeks ago, they wanted to convene a meeting, they put it off again. Because we faulted those assumptions on gas, an increase in, what is it called? Foreign exchange and inflation. These are assumptions that are not under my control, not under your control. So when you wake up tomorrow, if dollar is 600, it then means they are going to buy gas from abroad. That's what they're telling us. And we told them, no, these are assumptions that are strenuous. And you can't continue to shift it. As of today, any worker that earns 30,000 minimum wage, and each time they increase tariff, they create inflation. If you increase tariff today, the same people that instigate inflation benefit from it. Watch, if there is tariff increase now, inflation will go high. And they come next tomorrow to say inflation has gone high. We need to increase tariff again. So it continues to go in a circle. And nobody knows when. And Nigerians are keeping quiet. That's the problem. What type of economic policy is this?
Well, we really need to put questions to NERC to find out what is going on in that particular sector as to whether or not they're increasing tariff or not. And if they are, what are the reasons this time around? But let's flip this to Lagos now. Gentlemen.
Well, yeah, actually, we did reach out to the NERC. As you can see, they're not here. They declined the opportunity to explain or shed some light on what is going on. But let me ask you, the NERC, they say they rely on this Electric Power Sector Reform Act, which mandates them to review the tariff, minor review every 6 months, a major review every 5 years, based on the vagaries of the economy, some of which you've highlighted. So It means no matter what protests or whatever it is that happens, the law is there as the law. So you keep saying Nigerians are docile, are not doing anything, but your union, you unionize these workers who have much more information than many consumers. So why are you in any way looking to see what can be done about this law? Because no matter what happens, they will tell you we're not breaking the law insofar as this act exists.
Well, I think the issue of amending the law has been before the National Assembly up to now, you know, and if it has been before the National Assembly up to now, it's their duty. Even last year, when this issue came up on the tariff increase, you know, the matter came up that even the composition of the NAC should be looked into, because they were working under the assumption of issue of consultation. And we know the weakness of consultation, because consultation in a delegated legislation, you know, you are supposed is for your information, not for necessary action. Even when they consult the whole Nigerians on the issue of a tariff and Nigerians say no, the law they are talking about, you know, they are still free to go ahead and increase tariff. That's the problem of that such delegated power that we are enjoying. And they say they are covered by the law. And law is made for man and not man for law. And that law that says every 6 months you have to adjust upwards, every 5 years you increase, whether I have service or not, that law should be disobeyed. And that's the essence of saying Nigerians are docile. You know, you can't impose certain laws on foreign exchange, gas pricing on foreign currency, and inflation that we don't have any influence on how it is going up. And it's because of your action that inflation is going up. And you say whether we like it or not, we must. In fact, it doesn't even matter if NAC, you know, says they are not increasing. What I'm saying is that ask every Nigerian, the tariff they are paying this month, next month, it will increase. This one is perpetual increase in tariff. And this is unacceptable.
So does that suggest then that your union has tried everything it can and at the moment is helpless?
Yeah, to an extent, we looked at the cost, which I said is privatization, when it was coming, because we did some analysis on countries, you know, that, you know, witnessed it. And we knew that when it comes, and that the private man will be there to make his profit. And we know that it is not going to guarantee increase in power. And we inform Nigerians. You know, some of you in the media knew the process. You know, and after informing Nigerians, and it is here, and the whole thing is happening again, the same way we predicted it is the way it's happening. As a union there, our duty is to inform Nigerians, because we are not the only people using electricity. We are not the only people paying. You know, is to inform Nigerians on the issues, you know, happening in the sector. And the decision is theirs. You know, whether they want to continue to accept, you know, and let me even tell you this, even with the constant increases, the operators in the sector find it difficult to even increase salary. This doesn't go with any commensurate increase in salary since they came on board. It has been a problem. So look at it from any angle, it's not favoring anybody. So we can't keep quiet in the power sector as workers there and now maybe go back to negotiate only salary increase to the detriment of Nigerians who need these services.
One other question that will arise from this, Comrade, would be, okay, because it's also been, you know, part of the talk from the discourse or concerning the discourse, that they are not even able to sufficiently collect the revenue from the people. You know, normally there's the issue of metering, and then there is the issue of, you know, estimated billing. So many people are still complaining about that. One viewer, you know, tweeted at us a little while ago saying he paid 56,000 naira for a small apartment, and he's yet to get any revert from one of the discos in Lagos. So in terms of collecting revenue, there's still a huge shortfall from the discos in that regard. And then there is the issue of metering for the people. The joke out there is that the discos do not want to meter people because they will not get enough revenue from people from metering as opposed to estimated billing. Of course, that is something that they will have to come and clear themselves. But where you sit, and from what you know, if the discos are able to increase their capacity to collect revenue, will there really be a need to increase tariff to the detriment of people?
Well, if I must respond directly to this question, if the discos, if they are able to meter everybody, they should be able to correct their exact tariff. I think we have to look at it that way. If you don't need to give somebody estimation, it's maybe 1 unit per 1 naira. Now you get your tariff. That is one. No, but you see, issue of revenue efficiency, collection efficiency is very key. It's one of the promises they made. That collection efficiency is one of the promises they made before the sector was handed over to them. And now to turn now to work based on estimation is what I don't understand. It's unjustifiable. A deaf came to my office in Lagos 3 weeks ago and brought, I think they engaged him in Yaba local government there, and brought a bill of 400 and something thousand. I now gave him sign whether he was living in 3 or 4 room apartment. And he did like this for me, apparently that he's living in 1 room. I had to send some of my colleagues there to go into the matter in a shanty area. So you can see that some people will just look at that. We are supposed to collect 10 billion this month, and there are 500 houses. What do we do to collect this 10 billion? They stay in the office and allocate it so that they meet their target. And this target has been worsened with the current policy that the CBN is collecting the discos money. Let me say that because it's good for us to be a bit gentle with the discos on their own problems. The CBN collects their revenue. Let me take the issue of Abuja electricity, for instance. Abuja makes about 10 billion a month. And when they make that 10 billion a month, they ask for 2.5 to run their businesses and pay salary. Because their salary is on about 1.2. And then the NEC approves 1.8 for them so that they can have operational costs and others. But the CBN releases about 800 million to them. Not even enough to pay salary. So why is this happening? Why is the CBN doing that? So you see a lot of confusion. The same people that set the rules violate it and make it difficult for even these operators to operate freely. So there's a whole lot of confusion in the power sector, which was the reason they were giving us before, why it was being privatized to bring efficiency, to ensure that there's a speedy resolution of issues when they come up. But we are not seeing it these days. So the entire power sector needs a proper examination if we're moving forward.
Well, we sincerely hope that the issues will be resolved as quickly as possible and that we will be able to hear from the NERC because they are the regulators of the sector and they shouldn't shy away when their stories around another increment. Shortly after we saw an adjustment in January, and let us hope that they will be willing to, explain, and perhaps even to the discos themselves, because they might also claim that they are not making any profit. I don't know if you have heard any word about profit, because they are one of the most indebted sectors. As the electricity sector, it's one of the most indebted sectors around the country. I don't know.
I think it's the GENCOs.
Yes, the GENCOs owe a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
The discos are supposed to be the collectors. Have they been able to break even themselves?
Yeah, but you see, this is not new to us, because I even told them. That was what led to the emergence of Electricity Corporation of Nigeria, ECN, and Niger Dam Authority. It used to be separate companies. They now say, since the Electricity Corporation of Nigeria is at the collecting point, when they collect, they don't remit to the generation. That was how they merged them to be NEPA. Now, at this point, in the same country, within a few years, we now splitted again. Even the discos, when they collect, they were not given to the GENCOs, which now made government to have a central place of collecting this money. And now they are not even giving the discos enough now to do their own business. So this problem that led to the emergence of NEPA is still there.
Or maybe we should be hearing from the Power Minister, the Minister of Power, as to, you know, how a holistic overview of these problems and the solutions that are, you know, being proffered. Because at the end of the day, what we really want is electricity in our homes and our business places. But we have to thank you for never shying away anytime we call on you. Comrade Joe Ajero is the Deputy President of the Nigeria Labour Congress. And that will be it for this segment as well. I'm hoping that some of your mails will be able to pop through now. Gentlemen, have we posted any?
Got this one from Akko Omodu, who says, talking about electricity tariff, discos are so insensitive to electricity consumers in Nigeria. The increase in tariff is draining pockets. Our disposable income hasn't increased, but tariffs keep increasing. Ordinary Nigerians shouldn't suffer because of inefficiencies of corruption of past leaders.
Wola John, on the same issue, says, let us ask ourselves with this sincere question. If Nigerians were to be given 24-hour power supply today, do Nigerians have the income to pay for this necessity? We need to increase tariff, yes, but how do we pay for it? Very interesting.
Well, big questions there. I'm yet to see, you know, the page you guys are reading from. But I'm seeing this one here. Metering is not being done by discos, but by MAPs appointed by NERC. CBN has provided loans for metering, which was disbursed straight to MAPs as MAPS, not discos. Metering has started, even though rollout is not as far as expected. Well, I keep getting calls from AEDC, you know, customer care, you know, asking me about a certain meter. I don't know if you're getting those calls as well in your own area, but I guess metering is still on. Gentlemen.
Yeah, well, look at Ahmed Roger saying that the one we just saw there, he can't imagine how he'll be charged 56,000 naira as my electricity tariff, that's monthly, being a civil servant. He said he has tweeted severally to Ikeja Electric without reasonable explanation.
So many people to ask different questions on that one. Flip to security now. Musa Mohammed says, we live in a country where a few people live like kings and the masses as slaves. Security issues will only be resolved if we restructure the salaries of our political class and some agencies, regulate prices of commodities, and create jobs. Can't see it happening.
Well, I see another one from Hinter. Says the topic on the mercenaries to combat internal conflict is no-go area, except those people suggesting it have an extra motive for the constant promotion. I see a scenario where people bring in a keg of petrol to put off a candle flame.
Ask, this one is from Henry's. Okay, go ahead, Mopa.
Henry Okeke says the earlier we decentralize security, well, we're now entering the issue of security, the earlier we decentralize security in Nigeria, the better for us. The earlier we start recruiting freshmen into various security agencies directly from NYS's scheme, the better for us.
Well, this one from Olagunju says, the thing which is wrong with national security is our educational system, which is barely even a system. And that's another twist. You can't fix a country's infrastructure, economy, security when the people lack the educational ability to utilize it. Fix our state's educational system.
Well, this woman says, why are people...
And a restructuring.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Mark, go ahead.
Why are some in Nigeria so afraid of the word restructuring? It means to decentralize everything. We don't have to go back to the 60s regions. America that we copy is restructured with 50 states. Nigeria can be restructured with 36 states. Simply decentralize. Well.
Yeah. Well, then let me just add this one from Olu, who says, restructuring comes in different ways. Decongesting the exclusive legislative list, resource control, federalism, state police, etc. Why can't states control their resources? Why can't local governments and even private companies generate power and give people electricity? He says the guest was not being factual or truthful when he said, giving the impression that restructuring is going back to regionalism. And then we need to also point out when one of them said that senators aided the escape. So there was no such aiding of escape. I mean, everyone saw how the military did attack, and so that matter has been addressed severally. So there you go. That is the show today. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week. I'm Chamberlain also.
I'm Ayo Makine. Have a wonderful day.
And I'm Malkwe Ogun Yusuf. Thank you for watching.